we back with another one on this Mr. Baller, man. Top 3 photos with disturbing backstories, part 2, continued, man. Without wasting any more time, I'm gonna get straight into it, man. Let's go.
Vladimir Komarov was a Soviet astronaut who in 1967 was scheduled to orbit the Earth in the first manned flight of a particular Soviet spacecraft called the Soyuz. Komarov would be flying this mission solo, and so he needed a backup in case for...
I think that was back during the time when we were having the actual race to the moon with Russia. So that actually was probably going to have some bearing on this story because, back then they were cutting costs with safety corners, cutting corners with safety concerns and things like that.
Reason he couldn't go, and his backup was Yuri Gagarin, who was actually Komarov's best friend. This mission was very important to the Soviet Union, more from a political standpoint, but nonetheless, the pressure was on Komarov to successfully complete this mission. And so he, along with his backup, Yuri, had to train extra hard and make sure they did not screw this up. But it turns out the fail point for this mission was almost certainly not going to be Komarov or Gagarin if he ended up going instead of Komarov. It was going to be the spaceship itself. Gagarin, along with a host of engineers, did a full...
Yeah, back in the day, like I said, the rush to the moon, they were cutting a lot of corners. On our side, on the U.S. and Russia side, there was a lot of failed. They don't talk about that. A lot of failed experiments. Failed flight trips to the moon that didn't succeed. They don't talk about that a lot. But yeah.
Inspection of the Soyuz and found 203 significant structural problems, and they all recommended postponement of this mission. But their recommendation was ignored because, again, this mission was so politically important to the Soviet Union that they were effectively ready to risk their astronauts to make it happen. When Komarov found out about all these structural issues and the fact that the powers that be were not even listening and were basically saying, we don't care, you're doing this mission anyways, he was crushed. And he told a KGB agent that he was certain he was going to die. And this KGB agent would later say that he asked Komarov, well, then why don't you refuse the mission? And Komarov said, if I refuse the mission, they're going to make my best friend go, and he'll die up there. So I have to go.
Wow, no, that's a real friend. I bet you right now you don't have 5 friends you can call right now for $20. And this man ready to go die for this man just because he wanted it to be him. Come on, man. Upgrade your friend circle.
Komarov to relinquish the role, let Gagarin go instead of him, but Komarov was staunch. He said, I've been given this mission, I'm going to go, you're going to stay here. But what Komarov did, which is so legendary, is he made sure his funeral, if he were to die in the course of this mission, would be open casket. Because he knew if he came back to Earth, it was probably going to be because this spaceship has crashed, and he wanted the Soviet leadership to see what they had done. So sure enough, Komarov gets in the Soyuz on...
Imagine having that much presence of mind to know that you are going to die when you go to, tomorrow, you are going to die. And then you have the presence of mind not to be scared, or you're probably scared, but the presence of mind to be like, I want the world to know what they did to me, and make arrangements and still go on and carry out your day. Let me know in the comments if you built like that, because that's crazy. I don't know if I am.
Today, he takes off, and the problems began almost immediately. They had very little power, they had limited communications with the ground, and the craft itself was spinning uncontrollably. Seeing how badly it was going already, Soviet leadership on the ground instructed...
I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys are familiar with rocket ships or anything traveling to the moon, but when it takes off, it's supposed to go up. If your aircraft takes off and it's spinning, yeah, that's going to cause a little concern.
Komarov to nix the mission and just try to come back to Earth. Yeah. For 5 hours, Komarov circled Earth and attempted to re-enter Earth's atmosphere, but his ship, because of all of those structural problems, didn't work. And so 18 times he attempts to re-enter Earth's atmosphere, but each time it fails. And it was around this time that American intelligence recorded a conversation between a high-ranking Soviet leader on the ground and Komarov. And the leader on the ground is basically...
See, I like how he snuck that in there. He said, we recorded a conversation. We weren't allowed to do that back then. But we were spying. That's pretty much what he's trying to say. We were spying. That's funny how he said that. We recorded a conversation.
And saying they're so sorry to Komarov and that he's going to be a hero. They got his wife to come on, and his wife is talking to Komarov, and Komarov's telling her, what to do with the kids, what to do with his estate. He's perfectly fine and healthy, but the craft is doomed, and everybody knows it. Then that call ends, and Komarov, on his 19th attempt, is able to re-enter Earth's atmosphere, which everyone was pretty surprised he could even do that. But his parachutes failed. As Komarov is plunging to his death, over the radio,
man can't catch a break, man.
Cursing the Soviet leadership that doomed him by putting him in a botched spaceship. And so sure enough, on April 24th around 7 a.m., Komarov's craft smashes into the ground, killing Komarov. And when they open it up, it's clear what happened to him. He didn't die on impact. He basically burned alive inside of this capsule as it was careening down towards the Earth. And so all that's left of him is this charred pile. But because Komarov explicitly stated that they had to have an open casket funeral, specifically because he wanted the Soviet leadership to see what they had done to him, they had to hold an open casket funeral with just these charred remains. And here is the famous picture of Komarov's funeral, where the actual Soviet leaders that put him in that spaceship that was doomed, here they are viewing his open casket funeral. So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know in the comments.
We're going to get straight into this right here. I'm going to tell you straight up that is crazy how our governments, both sides back then, were actually, you know what I'm saying, at such a race to get to the moon just to have bragging rights to say that we did something better than the next country, that they were sacrificing humans, like, and this still goes on today, man. We got to stop that, man. But anyway, Inct gang, man. I'll be back with another one. The mother